I was sitting there the other day after watching the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and a thought crossed my mind. Disney Star Wars actually have some great character ideas that they just ruin. Now, don't get me wrong, it hasn't all been bad since The Mandalorian has done a pretty good job so far. But as for the Star Wars movies, I'll be honest, for the amount of films there are, the majority of the films have been pretty meh. But that's a topic for another day. Today, I want to look at some of the characters who had some serious potential that were ruined in some form or another. And as a quick disclaimer, I don't know anything about the extended universe, so I'm going off stuff that's strictly seen in live action media. And there will be spoilers ahead for anyone who's decided to watch this without seeing the Star Wars films. I don't know why you're here, but welcome anyway. The first and probably the biggest letdown for me personally is the treatment of my boy Finn. I mean, even John Boyega, the actor who plays him, has come out criticising Disney, and for far more than simply cutting him from the Chinese poster. The idea of switching allegiance in Star Wars is not a foreign concept. We've seen Jedi's turn from the dark side, we've seen Sith Lords returning to the light. But the idea of a stormtrooper who are taken from young, they're indoctrinated to serve the First Order, breaking protocol and deflecting to the resistance side, like, you have a killer idea in your hands. Stormtroopers are never really the focus of the movies, and for the most part, you tend to forget that they're still human underneath the helmets. But this idea really humanizes them, and it offers a different perspective into the humane methods of the First Order. You could explore the psychological effects of both the indoctrinated and the families they were taken from, the dynamic between stormtroopers on and off duty, just like how they teased it in The Force Awakens, when Finn faced a stormtrooper who called him a traitor and clearly knew him. The only saving grace is that we got a glimpse of how impactful a story like that could be with Mayfield in season 2 of The Mandalorian.
To the Empire.
It would have been a great character arc for Finn, and it would have opened the gates for future stories, but no. They decided to make him a useless simp chasing after Rey like she owed him some coochie or something. Not to mention, they tried to push this he's full sensitive stuff, like, you made your story even more interesting, but you relegated him to a simp. Speaking of Rey, say what you will about The Last Jedi, one thing I thought was a genuinely decent idea was Rey being a no one. It was part of Rian Johnson's whole subverting the expectation theme running throughout that movie, but it made for a more compelling opportunity at a story that doesn't even change the final film that much. I mean, Rey could have still taken on the Skywalker name the same way she did, just without somehow making Force Lightning a family move, or shoehorning in some family connection. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of all the family stuff anyway. This person is related to that person, or they're from some sort of special lineage. It used to be cool, and sometimes it still can be, but it's become so common that it's lazy. Star Wars has already made the whole I am your father thing iconic, like that was a huge reveal in the original trilogy, and probably the most iconic Star Wars scene ever. So I didn't really need to see them try one up the originals with their very own I am your grandfather type crap, especially because it was tacked on at the end. Rather than writing an interesting character, they slap on some family connection to build what I call artificial importance, which everyone for some reason still craves and for some reason still likes, but it's being overdone. Don't get me wrong, Kylo Ren being Han and Leia's son is perfectly fine. It wasn't some dragged out reveal, and it served the story well. Speaking of Kylo Ren, J.J. Abrams made The Force Awakens pretty much a rip-off of A New Hope. Kid from a sand planet, the Empire v Rebels reskinned as the First Order v Resistance, a masked villain with a red lightsaber, a shadowy leader figure that the villain answers to. It was just a new hope. Even Kylo Ren killing the older mentor figure in Han Solo is the same as Vader and Obi-Wan. But after he killed his own father, I thought maybe, just maybe, they'll go in a different direction with him. The Last Jedi actually continued this with Kylo Ren killing Snoke and becoming the leader of the First Order, and it honestly felt like he would have his shine as the big bad, and hopefully end the trilogy as the final big bad. But no, they decided to completely disrespect the original trilogy and even the prequels by bringing back Palpatine, which was revealed in the opening credits of all places, leaving Kylo Ren to become the good guy at the last moment and save our hero. I wonder where that's happened before. Look, from The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren was my favourite character of the sequel trilogy. A Vader fanboy who throws tantrums, a rivalry with General Hux, the Knights of Ren, and having one of the more unique lightsabers I've said this many times and I'll say it again. Comparing Vader and Kylo Ren in their first movies, so A New Hope and The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren is far more of an interesting character in my opinion. But his story just made him a complete rip-off of Vader and sapped all uniqueness from him. Disney took the, well, Disney route and left Kylo Ren as generic. Even the Knights of Ren, who looked so promising in that first trailer, was simply wasted. Simple cannon fodder for Ben Solo before his ultimate sacrifice. Look, give me a break, man. It gets me vexed even talking about it. Reva. This is actually the character who sparked the idea for this video. And if I'm honest, it was all the controversy surrounding her that actually made me watch Obi-Wan Kenobi at all. Reva has arguably the most interesting concept, especially with the characters she gets to interact with. A youngling surviving a first-hand encounter with Vader, who then becomes an Inquisitor to get close to him and kill him. You have all the ingredients for a very good story. A tense one, a heartfelt one, a tragic one. Order 66 is an iconic event within Star Wars, one that basically shaped the original trilogy and is kind of the defining moment in the state of the universe. Through Reva, you gain a different perspective on that event, insight into the trauma it caused, and where someone like Cal from Jedi Fallen Order took a different route, Reva explores the more darker path. There is so much story to be told, so many emotions to go with it, to create a complete, likable and interesting character. But what did they do instead? They made an overbearing and underdeveloped character whose arc came to the stupidest conclusion. Rather than growing with the character and slowly learning more about her, we are introduced to the most impulsive character that we barely understand. It's not to say we witnessed her struggle and get more impulsive over time. Nope, we just get the same character for 4.5 episodes. By the 5th, they try to reveal this tragic backstory and garner sympathy, which falls flat on his face, mostly because it was seen coming a mile off. This is a character who's gone around murdering adults and children, all because she wants revenge on someone who killed a bunch of children. Now don't get me wrong, there is a story to tell in a character so blinded by rage that they become the very thing they seek revenge against. But this wasn't it. They presented it as if her killing Luke is what makes her like Vader, whilst ignoring all the murdering she's done before. Redemption arcs for villainous characters who commit atrocities are not lightly executed. They require severe consequences, like death, which Reva evades. Now, I didn't want to mention this one because I'll probably get flamed for it, but it is what it is. I honestly didn't mind the broken Hermit Luke Skywalker idea. I just didn't like the reason for it, nor the action that followed after. And one of the problems I had with it is that we didn't get to see Luke as the all-powerful Jedi he was meant to be, so it feels like he's never really been one. We went straight from him just becoming a Jedi, destroying the Empire and essentially reaching his prime, to this admittedly sad old man drinking some blue titty milk and falling down because Rey ignited his lightsaber. It was pretty pathetic in all honesty, and a brutal assassination of his character, which seems to be a running theme of Hollywood nowadays. It was hard to recognize him as Luke Skywalker and not just some any old Jedi. And then we learn the reason why he became a recluse and he's like this, and it's just like, really? Of course, this was before the real Jedi Luke Skywalker was seen in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, but even that's just a small glance. And then we have his death, which is honestly so terrible. It had no impact, no weight, and was outright disgraceful to the character. I'm kind of lucky in a sense that I wasn't born when the original trilogy was released, so I wasn't one of the many fans who had to wait 30 years to see Luke again and got that. Like, I feel sorry for you, man, I must admit.